Hello everyone and welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am Teacher Casey and today I'm here to take a stand. I was tasked, challenged, questioned about something I want to take a stand on in kindergarten or in teaching in general, but I have chosen to talk about kindergarten and the amount of testing that is involved in kindergarten now versus back then. So let's just start. I have some fun facts I thought was interesting about kindergarten. This is not about kindergarten like now and then, but just some fun facts that I found interesting, some of them fun, some interesting, and I wanted to share with you before we get into my thoughts. But, all right, let's get started. First fun fact, the first U.S. kindergarten began in 1856 in Watertown, Wisconsin. Do you guys say Waterton or Watertown? All right, and so back before even that, kindergarten was originally formed in Germany. Kindergarten, it was like children's garden. So I thought that was really interesting. And it actually was banned. Came to the U.S. and then returned to Germany in 1860. In 1873, kindergarten was adopted into public school systems here in the U.S. In 1900, 225,000 students enrolled in kindergarten in the U.S. 1909, Stanley Hall coins the term free play. I like free play. It's free play to me is so interesting to watch the kids and see what they do and what they come up with and how they react and things like that. It's one of my favorite things about kindergarten. 1910, Montessori programs begin to develop. In 1965, Head Start began. It was started by Lyndon B. Johnson. I didn't know that. And then I didn't write down the year, but Mississippi was the last state to offer kindergarten in the public school systems. And today, kindergarten is available in all states. All right, so that was my quick 1-minute fun fact. Okay, I'm going to try not to get too excited about this one, but before I begin, some of you will have different opinions, and I encourage you to put them in the comments below. I would love to know your experiences and how you're feeling about things. This is a place, a safe space for opinions, comments. Let's be respectful of each other. I know there are differences of opinions here, or else everything would be the same, right? So, all right, back when I started kindergarten, I was actually a para in aide when I first started, and I decided I would start working the kindergarten after volunteering for a couple of years. And then when I became a para, kindergarten was learning a letter a week. Okay, so we did the A for a week, the B for a week. So I can kind of see why we still don't do that anymore, because it takes you about 26 weeks to get through the alphabet. Nowadays, it's like a letter a day, but children are learning them sooner. But I was looking up some of the kindergarten standards that I used in the classroom. Kindergarten standards now, with prompting and support, ask and answer questions about key details in a text. Retell familiar stories, including the key details. Prompting and support, identifying characters, settings, and major events in a story. So having said that, that standard, I used like these little fun wands in my classroom, because kindergarten's like a bag of tricks, right? If I just say, who's your favorite character? Where was the setting? It's like, oh, let's pick one of these. Ta-da! Who is your favorite character? What was your favorite part? What is the story about? Well, it's actually green, but it's not coming up, at least on my view. What happened in the story? So these matched most of my standards. Like, here's the setting one. So these were a good tool to have, but I still like to keep it fun and colorful and bright. But some of the standards are just different than they were. So I'm going to keep going and reading a couple more. Ask and answer questions about unknown words in a text. Recognize common types of text, so storybooks, poems, let's see, with prompting and support, name the author, the illustrator of a story, and define the role of each. Compare and contrast adventures and experiences of characters and familiar stories. I'm skipping through some of them. Identifying the front cover, the back cover, the title page of a book. You can see where a lot of these are different from back in, let's see, about 16 years ago when I was an aide in kindergarten. So instead of learning letters, they are now expected to infer information. What did the author mean? At the end of kindergarten, at one point, we wanted them to be at this, like a level D. So I would show parents during parent-teacher conferences, look, here's where your child's at. Here's where we're expected to get them. We've got all of this work to do in here. Don't worry about it, but just keep reading with your child. So I think the best thing you can do for your child is read at home to them, with them, have them read to you, make those connections, ask questions about a story, things like that. But I just feel like the standards have grown so much, and testing just became such a source of maybe some anxiety, even for the teachers. It just seems like before we could take all the kids outside and walk around because we were learning about nature and science, and I wanted to go show them outside, show them something. Well, I've got to get this test done now, so I'm not really sure if I can fit in an extra little trip outside and things like that. So what went from play-based kindergarten to now is just so much testing, and it kind of makes me sad. I remember having a principal walk in, actually this was about 15, 16 years ago, and was like, why are the kids always playing? Because we had free centers, and he did not understand the importance of play in kindergarten. Play is so important. Guys, it helps them grow. It helps them problem solve. It helps them learn how to share, learn how to communicate, talk to their peers, take direction, follow direction, understand directions. All of these things that they are learning through games, through peers. And now a lot of it has become sit and test. I can remember when we were starting to teach computer skills, and the kids are, already advanced from using the iPads and things with their fingers. They're going to the computers and trying to scroll on the screen. They had no idea how to use a mouse and things. And then they had to take a test. They were expected to take a test on the computer. And I'm like, they don't even know how to use a mouse yet. How am I going to get 21 kids, 20 kids, 18 kids? We were lucky. The numbers lessened as the years went on. But how am I going to get them to take this test on a computer, something new? They haven't even used the mouse yet. I mean, it was a little bit tricky. It really was. So I feel like there is too much testing in kindergarten, and I want to know your thoughts. How do you guys feel about it? I love kindergarten. I love teaching kindergarten. I have nothing against teachers in kindergarten. I think that there are people deciding what happens in kindergarten that have not taught, have not done enough research, have not asked, communicated with teachers to find out why it's so important. The last thing I heard about maybe 10 years ago was kindergarten of 15 years ago was a first grade of like 10 years ago. Does that make sense? So kindergarten now is probably like the first grade curriculum from before. So it's a lot more testing, but there are teachers that are still amazing and getting through their testing and doing still some center work and things like that. Some ways around it, guys, this is just my personal experience. I still had free centers in my classroom. You just have to make sure everything else is finished first, right? I also had, like, right after recess, we dropped everything and read. My students had books that they brought to a spot in the room. I didn't care where they read. They could sit in a chair. They could lay on the ground, wherever they wanted. I also had flexible seating. So kids didn't just have to sit in a chair with a desk in front of them. They could sit on a wobble stool. They could sit on a bouncy ball. They could sit on the floor. I even had a standing desk. I'm standing now. It's just part of who I am and how I learn and communicate. So kids learn differently, and I think it's really important that we diversify our seating, our testing, our playing for the kids that need it. So, okay, something I wanted to mention from kindergarten then versus now would be originally the school I worked for would give you the standards. So you had to teach all these standards, these objectives, right? But you could teach them however you wanted to. Nowadays, they seem not to trust the teachers as much. So they give you the standards, they give you the curriculum, they give you the testing, they give you everything, and your whole day is scripted. For example, I once had a block of time. You have a block of time to teach reading. Well, you could shift your classes, right? You could shift them. I did reading in the morning, and then I do math at this time, and then they'd have lunch, and then you do this and this. Well, now, at least in a lot of schools that I've heard from, everything is scripted. Everybody's reading block is here, or at least the teams. Everybody's math block is here, and you can't change them, even if there are certain circumstances. So that is one of the toughest things for me, because I feel like as a classroom teacher, you are tasked to teach these standards and objectives to many children. And not all children learn the same. And I think it's really important for the teacher to have flexibility in teaching those standards to all of these different kids. Because let's face it, not every child is going to learn using auditory skills if you read it to them. Not all kids are going to learn with hands-on learning, kinesthetic learning, which is kind of my favorite thing. So kinesthetic learning basically is you put everything in their hand. They touch, they think, they build, things like that. Not all students learn the same. And you have to have a lot of things in your bag of tricks. And I think it's unfortunate that a lot of teachers are now having to have the whole curriculum scripted for them. So, stepping down now. All right, everybody. Again, put your thoughts down below, and I'll see you all next time. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. I have a lot of content coming out for teachers, and I'd like to show them to you. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.